Are you tired of weight loss products filled with artificial ingredients and empty promises? Discover the power of nature with Pure Revive, the ultimate solution for healthy weight loss. Check out the link in the video description now to start your journey with Pure Revive.
Curled up on the sofa watching a murder documentary, Demi Lee Sykes wiped away a tear as the victim's grieving family spoke of their devastation. In a sickening twist, just hours later the mum, 28, would understand that turmoil firsthand after discovering her fiancé, Vincent McDonough, had been beaten and left to die on the street. The 45-year-old was killed by his neighbor Lee Burns, 38, who he had lent £20 that night and taken to the pub before they got into an argument while walking home. After refusing to allow Burns to use his phone, he was captured on CCTV footage punching Vinnie in the head, kicking him and then stamping on him as he lay unconscious. Burns, of Oldham, Manchester, was jailed for 21 years at Manchester Crown Court in May, but Demi says her family will never recover. She revealed their 4-year-old son Frankie looks under each bed in their home every night in a heartbreaking attempt to find his missing father and even sleeps in his dressing gown. Talking for the first time about the sickening murder to our channel, Demi says, "Burns did not take one life, he took 3. My son and I will never get over losing Vinnie. He had lent Burns £20 the night he was murdered. That kindness was typical of Vinnie, yet Burns murdered him for it. My only comfort is that Vinnie lives on through his son. Frankie is his father's double in every way, and I am reminded every time I look at him of the wonderful dad and partner we have lost." Loving dad Vinnie had been staying at his nearby flat to get some DIY done, when his life was tragically cut short in November 2023. Demi, who expected her fiancé home that evening, had stayed up late in the hope of seeing him and recalled watching the Channel 5 show Killer at the crime scene. Less than 24 hours later, she would be plunged into a scenario similar to those seen on the show, which follows specialist forensic teams attempting to solve grisly murders. Recalling the day before the murder, Demi told us, "I spoke to him in the afternoon and he said he had back pain. He'd damaged his back years earlier and it troubled him sometimes. I tried him again so Frankie could say goodnight and he didn't reply. I was expecting him back later that night. I was a bit annoyed that he hadn't replied. That night, I watched a documentary about a murder and I remember thinking how awful that would be, and feeling sorry for the family." Early the next morning, 2 police officers came to tell Demi that Vinnie was dead. She says, "I was shell-shocked. I didn't know any details. One of his neighbors told me that he had been murdered by another neighbor, Lee Burns. I'd never even heard of him. I found out the details of Vinnie's death from a complete stranger. I was absolutely stunned." In the days afterwards, there were videos online showing Vinnie's murder. "I could not believe people could be so cruel and heartless." Demi had to go through the heartbreak of identifying Vinnie's body and, instead of planning their wedding, she instead found herself planning a funeral. She says, "Frankie just didn't understand his dad wasn't coming back. He kept shouting his name and looking under all the beds. He slept with his dad's dressing gown every night. My grief literally made me ill. I couldn't eat and I lost 6 stones in weight. I felt like a part of me had died with Vinnie." Vicious Lee Burns, 38, had a violent history and was previously jailed for 10 years over attacks on 2 elderly women in Oldham. "You left him dead or close to dying on the street and went home without a thought for him." When he appeared at Manchester Crown Court in May 2024, the killer denied murdering Vinnie, despite overwhelming evidence against him and leading to a trial that further traumatized the family. The court heard that Vinnie had lent Burns £20 and they had gone to the pub. On their way home, the 2 men disagreed after Vinnie asked if he could use Burns' phone to make a call. Vinnie asked Burns to leave him alone, but he launched a brutal attack, picked up on CCTV, punching Vinnie to the head and then kicking and stamping on him as he lay unconscious on the ground. He then walked away and left him to die. Burns confessed to a neighbor that he had killed Vinnie, but later claimed he had acted in self-defense. Last year Oldham was highlighted as one of the UK's crime hotspots in a landmark report advising,